look at you, frozen, not because you're scared, but because you felt the shift, didn't you? That sudden razor-thin silence in the air, like reality itself just stopped to listen. Good, because you need to hear this. Someone, somewhere, is packing their desk because of you. And oh, the irony. It wasn't violence, it wasn't chaos, it wasn't some dramatic explosion. It was truth. A truth you dropped like a guillotine, silent, precise, and international, before anyone even understood what the hell happened. You didn't expose a person. You exposed a system, a frequency, a lie held together with duct tape, fake smiles, and weak leadership pretending competence. You spoke, or maybe you didn't. Maybe you just breathed wrong in the right room, and the whole global grid flinched. They felt it in boardrooms. They felt it in government corridors. They felt it in every little private chat where cowards hold hands and gossip like pigeons with Wi-Fi. You want to know the funniest part? They're not asking, "What did you do?" No. They're asking, who the hell let that happen? Who failed to contain you? Who didn't notice the anomaly before it detonated? And now they're sweating, polished shoes slipping, badges being turned in, some poor soul being dragged into a conference room like a sacrifice because they couldn't predict you. You see, that's the duality. You're not the storm. You're the pressure drop before the storm. The calm that terrifies more than thunder ever could. Because how do you classify someone who moves like light but hits like shadow? How do you explain someone who's half saint, half psychopath? Soft eyes, nuclear intent. How do you file a report on a creature who exposes what everyone else agreed to pretend not to see? They can't. That's the problem. Your existence is a breach in their protocol, a contradiction in their algorithm, a beautiful, violent reminder that unpredictability isn't a flaw. It's a weapon. You evolved through pain. You calibrated through betrayal. You refined your instincts on the whetstone of humiliation until your intuition cut cleaner than any surveillance system. So when you revealed whatever you revealed, even if it was by accident, the world felt the signature. It wasn't human. It wasn't normal. It wasn't local. It was international shockwave energy, the kind that makes middle-aged executives lose their hair and national security interns update their resumes. Somebody's career ended today, not because they were weak, but because you are too strong to contain. You're not dangerous because you shout. You're dangerous because you whisper, because you walk in like a saint and rewrite the whole moral code like a demon. They don't know whether to arrest you, praise you, fear you, or offer you a job. But they know one thing: the moment you opened your mouth, their illusion popped. And illusions don't grow back. Someone in another country, another time zone, another hierarchy, is staring at a blank report right now, realizing there is no explanation for this person. Someone else is calling their supervisor, voice trembling. Whatever they exposed, it's spreading. And somewhere, behind closed doors, a door slams. A badge hits a table. A career evaporates. Because you walked into the room with nothing but your truth. You know what that makes you? A threat. A catalyst. A walking intelligence leak wearing skin. The kind of anomaly entire departments get fired over. The kind of presence that turns the world's volume down when you enter. So let it sink in. You didn't ruin anyone's job. They did. By thinking you were ordinary. You didn't cause a scandal. You just existed loudly enough for the truth to surface. And if this is what happens when you expose a fragment, imagine what will happen when you expose the whole thing. Go on. Watch them panic. Watch them scramble. Watch the international cables spark because of you. After all, the world's been waiting for someone who doesn't flinch when the truth gets violent. And tonight, that someone was you. You feel that, don't you? That slow crawling vibration under your skin. That hum in the atmosphere. That strange electric awareness that wasn't there a moment ago. Good. Because that's the world adjusting to you. See, when you expose something that was never meant to see daylight, it doesn't just stay local. It doesn't sit quietly in the corner. No, it leaks upward. It climbs chains. It seeps into higher rooms. It jumps borders without a passport. And you're standing here pretending you didn't just cause a geopolitical migraine. Someone right now is getting called into an office with the kind of tone people use when they already know your excuses won't save you. A tone thick enough to feel like a rope tightening around a throat. They're asking him, How did you not see this coming? How did one person walk through your system like a ghost and expose a pressure point that's been hidden? For years, he'll stutter, he'll sweat. He'll try to explain that you're different, unusual, unpredictable. But they don't want explanations. They want blood. That's what happens when someone like you moves. Somebody else pays the price. And you know why? Because you've reached a stage of evolution they didn't prepare for. They're used to rebels. They're used to loud mouths. They're used to threats with teeth and fury and shaking fists. But you're none of that. You're calm, cold, controlled. You walk like a saint. And think like a psychopath. You carry light in your chest and darkness in your shadow. Duality. Pure, weaponized duality. They can't file a report on that. They can't predict that. They can't train anyone to handle that. You are the paradox their systems were never designed to process. And paradoxes break machines. You didn't expose a secret. You exposed a weakness, a structural crack, a blind spot in their hierarchy, one you didn't even have to dig for. You just breathed in the wrong direction, and the entire chain of command shivered. There are think tanks convening right now, little round tables full of people who earn six figures to anticipate anomalies. They're circling your name like it's a solar eclipse. Some of them think you're a fluke. Some think you're a threat. Some think you're an opportunity. The smart ones? Oh, they think you're a problem they'll never solve. Because there's no formula for someone who sees through illusions without effort. No manual for someone who smells corruption before the ink dries. No containment protocol for someone whose intuition hits harder than surveillance. They're terrified of that. Not because you exposed something, but because you might do it again, and again, and again. They don't fear what you saw. They fear what you'll see next. And the craziest part, you weren't even trying. You didn't gather intel. You didn't strategize. You didn't dig. You simply noticed, and noticing, coming from someone like you, is already a breach. You are living proof that awareness itself is dangerous. So now, someone's job is gone. Their reputation is dust. Their carefully constructed facade reduced to ash. And you're still standing there like you didn't just kick over a global beehive with one finger, but you feel it, don't you? That strange confidence boiling in your ribs, that electric clarity, that sharp, predatory quiet settling into your bones, because deep down, you know. This wasn't an accident. It was evolution. You've crossed into a new tier of self, a version of you they have no blueprint for. Your shadow is too honest, your aura too loud, your instinct too sharp, your truth too volatile. You've become the kind of person whose smallest action creates international aftershocks. The kind of person who can trigger resignations with a single observation. The kind of person who makes powerful people whisper, "Please, please don't let them notice me." So here you stand, unbothered, unshaken, unapologetic, while the world quietly rearranges itself around the reality of you. Whatever you exposed didn't just go global. It revealed something bigger. You've outgrown their control. You've outpaced their predictions. You've outlived their illusions. And now the world knows you're not a citizen. You're a catalyst, not a participant, a destabilizer, not a witness, a reckoning. You didn't ruin someone's job. You reminded them why they should have taken you seriously in the first place. And if this is what happens from one slip of truth, imagine what happens when you start doing it on purpose. You really want to know what's happening behind the scenes right now? Lean in. Because the moment you exposed that little thing, the one everyone else tiptoed around, ignored, or pretended wasn't real, the world didn't just react. It rerouted. A chain reaction snapped through systems you didn't even know existed. Invisible wires tightened. Old agreements shook. People in rooms you'll never see stood up so fast their chairs hit the wall. And the funniest part, none of it was about the secret itself. It was about you. Because they all had the same horrifying realization at the exact same moment. If they noticed this, what else have they noticed? And suddenly, you weren't just a person anymore. You were a risk category, a variable, a walking audit. A quiet force of nature that doesn't shout, doesn't announce itself, doesn't need permission. You just exist, and the truth rearranges itself around your presence. Do you understand how rare that is? Most people expose nothing, not even themselves. They live in a fog, tiptoeing through life with their eyes half shut. But you've got that cursed, beautiful gift, the ability to see the crack before the structure collapses, the ability to smell a lie before the liar even opens their mouth, the ability to feel what's wrong with a situation even when everyone else is hypnotized by the performance. So when you spoke, when you even breathed, the illusion lost its grip. And someone in some office felt that shift like a bullet grazing their spine. That's why they're panicking. Not because you broke a rule, but because you revealed how many rules were already broken long before you arrived. You didn't expose a flaw. You exposed a pattern. A pattern someone was paid very, very well to keep hidden. And guess what? People in those positions don't survive patterns being exposed. Jobs vanish, contracts dissolve, security clearances evaporate, names get erased from directories like they never existed. And each time something like this happens, the same question ricochets through every hierarchy. Who lost control of the anomaly? And the anomaly is you. They don't know how you see what you see. They don't know how you navigate shadows without getting lost. They don't know how you connect dots that were deliberately kept in different continents. But they know it's not luck. They know it's not coincidence. They know, deep in the sick pit of the stomach place, reserved for truth, that you evolved somewhere pain forged perception into a weapon. Most people break in the dark. But you? No. You learn to read in it, to map it, to understand it, to become it. So now your awareness isn't passive, it's lethal. And everyone who has ever tried to hide something corrupt, fragile, or counterfeit around you has the same nightmare. You turning your head an inch and seeing too much. They hate that. Because you don't need access, you don't need clearance, you don't need evidence, you just look. And reality bends into confession. That's why this went international. Your perception is a contagion. Your insight is a spark. Your intuition is a force multiplier. Whatever you exposed, oh, it didn't leak. It detonated. A quiet, surgical little truth that traveled faster than gossip, faster than fear, faster than the people trying to smother it. And now the aftershocks are bouncing between countries like echoes in a cathedral. But you stand here, untouched, unbruised, unrattled, because deep down you know. You didn't cause chaos. You caused correction. You didn't destroy anyone. They destroyed themselves by standing in the blast radius of your clarity. You didn't bring down a system. You just showed everyone how rotten it already was. And that's why someone is losing their job tonight. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're accurate. And accuracy is the last thing they expected from the one person they underestimated most. But here's the real kicker. This is only the first ripple. Once people realize the truth you exposed wasn't a coincidence, once they realize your mind is a threat detector, once they grasp that you're not lucky, you're evolving, their fear won't fade. It'll escalate, because they'll understand the truth. If one unintentional exposure caused international fallout, what would happen if you did it on purpose? You want it longer? Good. Because the world isn't done trembling yet, and neither are you. Listen closely now, because what I'm about to say explains why your existence is rattling entire departments, agencies, and organizations like an earthquake, hitting rotten foundations. The reason whatever you exposed went international is simple. Your mind doesn't operate on the same voltage as everyone else's. While they tiptoe around politics, power, and protocol, you walk straight through it, like a ghost in a locked building, uninvited, uncontained, ungovernable. See, the truth you revealed wasn't big. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't dramatic. It was something far worse. It was undeniable. And that's the one thing the world's power structures can't fight. They can fight lies with bigger lies. They can fight rebellion with force. They can fight exposure by discrediting whoever speaks. But how do you fight someone who reveals the truth without even trying? How do you fight someone whose intuition is more accurate than an entire intelligence division? How do you fight someone whose silence is louder than propaganda? They can't. So instead, they turn on each other. They blame each other. They interrogate each other. They sacrifice each other to the metaphorical wolves. And in the middle of it all, your name sits on a table in a room you'll never be invited to. A name circled in red. A name underlined twice. A name associated with the kind of incident reports that end careers. Right now, someone's being asked, why didn't you stop them? Why weren't you watching? Why did they see what we didn't? And there's no good answer. Because the truth is humiliating. You operate outside their imagination. You don't fit their psychological profiles. You don't fit their risk models. You don't fit their predicted behavior charts. You're the nightmare scenario. A person who isn't reckless but perceptive, isn't rebellious but observant, isn't violent but devastating. You're the kind of person who exposes an entire operation with a single raised eyebrow, the kind whose awareness melts through facades like acid on paper. And that's why they're afraid, because anyone can fight loud chaos. But how do you fight quiet clarity? How do you shut down someone who saw the flaw you spent years burying? How do you contain a person who's already outgrown containment? There are warnings circulating right now. Emails marked urgent, meetings scheduled at impossible hours, phones ringing in auditoriums that were supposed to be empty, not because you revealed a secret, but because you revealed competence, your instincts, your perception, your evolution. They've studied thousands of behavioral patterns, but none match you. You're too calm to be predictable, too intuitive to be controlled, too aware to be manipulated, too silent to be dismissed. That combination, it's lethal. You're not a threat because you act. You're a threat because you notice. And that noticing is why someone, somewhere, is about to lose the career they built their whole identity around. They failed to anticipate you. But here's the part nobody wants to talk about. They aren't just scared of what you exposed. They're scared of why you exposed it. Because you didn't do it for attention. You didn't do it for revenge. You didn't do it to prove anything. You did it because it was there. Because it needed to be seen. Because your mind couldn't not see it. That makes you dangerous on a cosmic level. People who expose for ego, predictable. People who expose for revenge, containable. But people who expose because they're simply awake, they're unstoppable. And that's what you've become. A walking, breathing, fully conscious correction. A sentient spotlight. A human audit with a heartbeat. You don't destroy systems. You just show them their reflection. And they crumble on their own. So understand this. What went international wasn't your revelation. It was the realization of what you're capable of. Your enemies aren't worried about the truth you dropped. They're worried about the truths you haven't dropped yet. They're worried about what else you've caught, what else you've sensed, what else you've pieced together while everyone assumed you weren't paying attention. They're terrified of the fact that you haven't even started. And deep down, so are you. Because there's a part of you, the part forged in silence, sharpened in suffering, tempered in betrayal, that knows this was just the opening move. And if this is the chaos your awareness causes by accident, imagine the shockwave you'll unleash the day you finally decide to do it on purpose. And here's the part they'll never admit. The part that keeps entire departments awake at night. You didn't even break a sweat. You exposed one tiny fracture and the tremor rippled across borders, across institutions, across hierarchies built on ego and denial. That alone tells you everything. You're not in the system. You're not under the system. You're the pressure test the system secretly fears, because you reveal what its own architects ignored. And now they finally understand. They can't predict you. They can't box you in. They can't prepare for someone who evolves from every wound, who grows sharper after every betrayal, who gets quieter as they get more dangerous. Whatever you exposed didn't go international because it was big. It went international because you did it. And the world recognized the signature. So let them panic. Let them whisper. Let them scramble to rewrite their protocols. Let them fire, resign, retreat, and blame each other. Because this time, they learned the truth the hard way. The moment you decide to speak, the whole planet listens. And if this chaos came from one truth, imagine what happens when you finally choose to unleash the rest. You felt that, didn't you? That sudden stillness in the air, like the world is holding its breath because you just walked into the room. Good. Because I want you to hear this without flinching, without blinking, without pretending you don't know exactly who the hell you've become. You're not dealing with individuals anymore. You're dealing with alliances, coalitions built out of fear, envy, and that trembling little superstitions they whisper when your name comes up. They didn't unite because they were strong. They united because you broke their ability to fight alone. Do you understand? how terrifying that is to them. They had to create an entire alliance just to survive the idea of you. And even then, they miscalculated, because you didn't just walk through them. You slipped through their defenses like a shadow with a pulse. You didn't break their formation. You made them realize their formation was never real. And now, one of them hasn't slept in 3 nights. Why? Because they can't stop replaying that one moment, that one impossible scene where you stepped forward, and every single prediction they made about you collapsed like a dying star. You didn't attack, you didn't scream, you didn't even raise your voice. You just existed, and that alone was enough to unravel the architecture of their entire alliance. Do you see the duality yet? They built an army out of fear. You built yourself out of pain. They relied on numbers. You relied on nothing and still came out infinite. They came as a collective. You came as a paradox, light and dark, saint and psychopath, angel and demon, a creature whose steps rewrite the terrain they walk on. Because while they rehearsed the ways they thought you'd break, you were quietly studying the ways you rise. And when you rose, it wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic. It was that slow, horrifying kind of ascension that makes even the bravest man feel like he just saw a ghost wearing his future. That's what you are now, a warning disguised as a person. And the funniest part, they don't actually know what you did. They only know what it felt like. Do you know how rare that is? Most people fear actions. Some fear outcomes, but you made them fear your existence itself. You walked through a coordinated effort to break you, not by overpowering it, not by matching their strategy, but by transcending the entire game they were playing. Their alliance wasn't designed to stop who you are. It was designed to stop who you were before. And the version of you that showed up? Oh, that version wasn't in their files. That version walks with catastrophe stitched into their shadow. That version turns alliances into anxiety attacks. That version carries a silence so heavy that even the guilty feel it press against their lungs. And that's why he can't sleep. Because when he closes his eyes, he doesn't see what you did. He sees what you're capable of next. He sees the chaos in your calm. He sees the storm in your stillness. He sees the God in your grin. You know what terrifies men more than violence? Unpredictability. And by stepping through their alliance without a flicker of hesitation, you taught them the one lesson they prayed they'd never learn. You're not a puzzle. You're not a threat to be neutralized. You're not a problem to solve. You're a force of nature wearing a face they underestimated, a walking contradiction. Born of shadows, tempered by torment, holding a light that doesn't illuminate. It interrogates, it exposes, it strips, it reveals. And nothing terrifies a guilty man more than being seen clearly by someone who shouldn't have survived what you survived. Let me tell you something delicious. Every alliance built against you becomes a mirror they're forced to stare into. Every plot they formed becomes a prophecy they accidentally wrote about their own downfall. Every whisper they traded becomes evidence of their fear. You didn't survive their alliance. You invalidated it. You didn't beat their strategy. You made their strategy meaningless. That's why they're spiraling. That's why he's awake at 4 a.m., staring at the ceiling like it's going to explain you. Because deep down, he knows the truth they all tried to bury. You were never the target. You were the test, and they failed spectacularly. So walk forward, not with pride. Pride is mortal. Walk with inevitability, because now they know. Once you decide to move, the world rearranges itself around you. And the alliances, They were never formed to stop you. They were formed to warn each other. If you see them coming, step aside. They don't walk around obstacles. They walk through them. Funny, isn't it? How alliances always look powerful from a distance. All those bodies, all those whispers, all those trembling little strategies arranged like dominoes. But the second you walked in, the whole formation looked like paper armor melting in the rain. They don't talk about that part publicly. But privately? Oh, they're choking on it. Because what they built with numbers, you shattered with presence. You didn't need an army. You didn't need backup. You didn't need to raise your voice or sharpen your teeth. You just needed to show up, and every mask in the room slid off like wet paint. Let me tell you why their alliance broke. They united out of desperation, but you were forged out of experience. There's a difference. They come together because they're terrified of standing alone. You walk alone because you learned that standing by yourself teaches you more about power than any crowd ever will. They operate out of fear. You operate out of clarity. Fear scatters. Clarity slices. Fear builds walls. Clarity walks right through them. Fear makes alliances. Clarity makes consequences. That's why your existence feels like a storm hinge, the pivot point where the entire weather system shifts, because one person decided to breathe differently. But let's talk about him, the one who hasn't slept. He thought an alliance would protect him from you. He thought numbers would blur responsibility. He thought moving in a group would dilute the guilt. But guilt doesn't dilute. Guilt ferments. And the moment he saw you walking, calm, collected, inevitable, he felt something crack behind his ribs. A pressure, a truth, a realization he never wanted to meet in the dark. We didn't prepare for that version of them. And now he's terrified of the quiet, because the quiet reminds him of you. Every time the room goes still, every time he hears footsteps behind him, every time the lights flicker or a door creaks or a shadow shifts, he thinks it's you. Not the you he expected, not the you he studied, not the you he plotted against. No, the reborn you. The paradox you. The you who learned how to weaponize silence, how to turn pain into precision, how to turn trauma into a second spine. You know what keeps him awake? The moment he realized you didn't walk through their alliance to intimidate anyone. You walked through it because they simply weren't relevant anymore. They were noise pretending to be structure, static pretending to be surveillance, insects pretending to be sentinels. And once you understood that, once you saw their fragility behind their formation, you stopped playing defense. You became something they didn't have a name for. Something that makes grown men lose sleep, because naming it would mean acknowledging they were never your equals. But here's the real terror, the part he can't tell the others. He didn't see anger in your eyes. He didn't see revenge. He didn't see destruction. He saw something far worse, acceptance. You accepted their alliance the way a tidal wave accepts a sandcastle. Not as a threat, not as an obstacle, as something too small to even measure your force against. And when a man realizes he is a sandcastle, he doesn't sleep well. He tosses, he sweats, he stares at the ceiling, he avoids mirrors. He checks his phone at 3:17 a.m. like it will save him. But nothing saves you from a truth written in your bones. You were never equipped to stop the storm. You were only meant to witness it. That's what you are to them now. A phenomenon, an anomaly, the living embodiment of every consequence they prayed would never grow teeth. You know what the rest of the alliance is whispering now? Not how do we stop them? No. They're whispering how long until they return, and what will they be this time? Because you've become unpredictable on a molecular level. Your evolution is no longer linear. You don't grow, you rupture, you don't heal, you transform, you don't respond, you rewrite. And nothing terrifies an alliance more than someone who refuses to exist in the version of reality they tried to contain you in. They formed a coalition to control a past version of you. Instead, they accidentally summoned a future version of you. A version that walks like consequence, thinks like contradiction, and breathes like prophecy. That version doesn't break rules. That version makes them, and deep down, they know it. Deep down, they understand the reason you walked through their alliance without lifting a finger. You weren't walking through them. You were walking away from who you used to be, and the scariest thing in the world is watching someone walk away from a battlefield that you thought would bury them as if it were just a doorway. You want to know the moment everything shifted, not for you, for them. It wasn't when they united. It wasn't when they plotted. It wasn't when they whispered your name like a warning into each other's inboxes. It was the exact second they realized their entire alliance, their whole fragile coalition, was built around a fantasy version of you that no longer exists. That's when panic entered the room. Because they didn't build a strategy against the person you've become. They built a strategy against the person you used to be. And that version, that ghost, that outdated file, you buried it. Quietly, elegantly, ruthlessly. While they were preparing nets, you were learning to fly. While they were building walls, you were becoming smoke. While they were practicing defenses, you were becoming something that doesn't even operate within the same physics. That's why their alliance crumbled the second you walked through it. Not because they were weak, though they were. Not because you were strong, though you are. But because your evolution outpaced their imagination. You became unthinkable, and the human mind has no defense against what it cannot think. Now let's talk about the insomnia again. The man who can't sleep. The one with eyes red as interrogation lamps. The one who jolts awake every hour because there's a single thought haunting him like a phantom with a pulse. What if they're not done? That's the part nobody wants to admit out loud. The part that tightens the lungs. The part that turns courage into migraine. They're not afraid of what you did. They're afraid that you did it so calmly, that you didn't need rage or chaos or madness or spectacle. You walked through their alliance like someone who'd already outgrown conflict. Do you even realize how disturbing that is? Most people fight because they're provoked. Most people retaliate because they're hurt. Most people strike back because they're cornered. But you advanced because it was simply time. That is the kind of psychological horror no alliance can brace for, because it means your power isn't reactive. It's foundational, intrinsic, woven into the architecture of your being. That man who can't sleep now knows something the rest refuse to say. You didn't shame their alliance. You exposed what held it together. Fear of you, envy of you, and most damning of all, belief in you. Imagine that. Your enemies believed in your power before you did. That's why they united. No one joins a coalition against a nobody. They formed a whole alliance because somewhere in their bones, they sensed the shift before you even took the first step. They could smell the storm before they ever saw the clouds. And here's the cruel irony. Every move they made to weaken you only built the momentum you needed to transcend them. Pressure sharpened you. Isolation sculpted you. Betrayal refined you. The alliance didn't stand against you. It activated you. You know what evolution looks like from the outside? terror. Because when someone evolves faster than expected, everyone who underestimated them starts mourning the version they thought they could control. Let's push this further. Let's talk about duality. Your favorite paradox. They saw a threat. You discovered a purpose. They saw a target. You became a mirror. They saw a problem. You became a prophecy. Do you see it yet? You move differently because your pain taught you something no alliance can learn from strategy. When you've been broken in silence, you don't shatter loudly. You shatter inward, rebuilding yourself along fault lines no one else can read or anticipate. That's why alliances fail when they face someone like you. They think power is in numbers, but true power is in the person who didn't break when every number in their life told them they should. And that brings us back to the sleepless one. The shaking hands, the wide eyes, the trembling chest, the phantom footsteps in his mind. He's not afraid of what you did. He's afraid of what you are. Because now he sees the truth. There is no alliance strong enough to contain someone who mastered themselves. He sees the contradiction in your soul, the predator and the healer, the sinner and the saint, the moonlit demon and the sunrise angel woven into a single impossible presence. And he understands, too late, that alliances collapse when the person they're built against isn't a person at all anymore, but a force, a shift, a phenomenon, a psychological event with its own gravitational pull. You didn't walk through their alliance. You walked past the limits of their world. And now, every night, one of them lies awake, staring at the ceiling, terrified of the simplest truth ever whispered in a dark room. If walking was this powerful, what happens when they decide to run? There's a reason he hasn't told the others the whole truth. A reason he swallows his fear like broken glass every night. A reason he wakes up drenched in sweat with your name echoing like a pulse in an empty hallway. It's because he knows something they don't. Something he felt in his bones the second you stepped into their little alliance chamber, and the atmosphere shifted. Not like a threat, not like an attack, not like a warning, no. Something far worse. He felt the presence of someone who had already outgrown the battlefield. That's the part he can't explain. That's the part that twists his stomach and steals his breath. That's the part that follows him through doorways and haunts the corners of his vision. You weren't fighting, you weren't resisting, you weren't even acknowledging their force. You were simply moving forward, and the entire alliance bent around you like reality, trying to survive a paradox it didn't understand. He realized it before anyone else. You don't operate on the level they're fighting on. You operate on the level they're afraid even exists. That's why he can't sleep. That's why he grips his sheets like they're restraints. That's why he triple checks the locks and still doesn't feel safe. He knows you didn't destroy their alliance. You dismantled something far more personal, their illusion of relevance. Because when a group of people join forces against you and you walk through them, like fog, like memory, like inevitability, they're forced to face a truth more violent than any conflict. They needed each other. You needed no one. They relied on numbers. You relied on becoming something numbers cannot measure. They built a coalition. You became a contradiction. They moved as a unit. You moved as a destiny. And destinies don't negotiate. They don't pause. They don't ask permission to shift the world around them. They simply unfold. You didn't win. You didn't dominate. You didn't overpower. You outgrew. And that is the kind of power that keeps a man awake at 3:47 a.m., unable to close his eyes because every time he does, he sees you walking, slow, steady, unbothered, through everything they built to contain you. He sees the saint in your stillness, the psychopath in your precision, the angel in your restraint, the demon in your evolution. He sees all of you, the duality, the depth, the danger, and realizes something he wishes he never learned. You're not the villain. You're not the hero. You're not the threat. You're the consequence. The aftermath wrapped in a human shape, the reckoning wearing a smile, the lesson they never wanted to learn but now can't escape. So let me end this with what he fears the most, the truth he prays you never speak out loud. You walked through their alliance because you had places to get to that they were never invited to see. You moved forward not to prove a point, but because the universe itself makes space for those who stop apologizing for outgrowing their old lives. His insomnia isn't about you. It's about what you represent. A person who should have broken, but didn't. A person who should have collapsed, but rose. A person who should have fallen, but walked instead. And once a man witnesses a miracle he cannot categorize, he loses the luxury of sleep. So walk on. Walk forward. Walk further. Because the final horror for them, the truth that shatters their alliance at its root, isn't that you walked through them. It's that now they know you're never coming back.